Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you're having an amazing day. We're going to take a look here at Filecoin, see what's going on, of course. A pretty obvious increase in price here, up 43% on the day, likely even higher from its highest point. So we'll take a look at that and really just help you understand best practice, because when it comes to coins like this, that pump out of nowhere, it's likely a fundamental catalyst, and the more important thing to recognize is how much lower it should go, not necessarily how much higher it should go. Again, we'll look at both angles to ensure you understand that, but it's always important to make sure that you're cautious and careful when stuff like this happens. It doesn't necessarily mean like it's going to keep going forever. Okay? A lot of times these things will turn around to specific key level indications on Fibonacci. So we'll take a look at that and much more. If you're new to the channel though, just keep in mind I'm not a financial advisor. I love teaching people to trade. I truly hope you can learn something here today. My goal is to help you become a better trader overall. That's kind of the idea. So if you want to become a better trader, feel free to join my Trading Academy community and signal group. The link is in the description below. I provide you with signals for every trade that I take. We've been taking some nice profits off Bitcoin longs recently, as well as the simple fact that I have an academy that teaches you how to trade the way that I trade. I've been trading for over 17 years, and I can tell you I have learned a thing or two. Most of it is discipline and obviously good TA. You kind of combine the two and you're in much better shape, right? So take a look at that and much more. Obviously, again, CryptoCache.tech is a site linked to be down below. So let's go ahead and look at Filecoin and see kind of what's going on here, because I wouldn't say this is an anomaly, but this does happen once in a while. And what we want to do is kind of get perspective on the big picture here and see this is technically the largest volume spike we've seen on this exchange. This is a Binance exchange, by the way, from when it was ICO'd back in October 15th of 2020. There could be older charts out there, but generally speaking, that's not super relevant. What is relevant is the fact that we have the most amount of volume so far here today in this one candlestick. So it's important to recognize that, because that really helps us understand that that's kind of, it's an outlier, right? It's a standard deviation that needs to be corrected, and it could and very well should be corrected. So keep that in mind. Just because it's pumping and or doing very well doesn't mean it won't come back down. So we'll look at some standard stuff and kind of just work our way down from the larger to smaller time frames. And then I'll touch on key level Fibonacci retracement lines that are very common characteristics for parabolic increases and where they typically will retrace to, and then go from there. So obviously we're up over 70 on the RSI, a big surprise there. Just yesterday we were at 55, now it's overextended at 77. So it's screaming at us right now, telling us that even though we are converging on the MACD, we are completely overextended on the daily. Okay. Now, oftentimes it takes a little while for this to come back down, so we may not expect it to plummet from here, but it is more likely in most cases that the price action is going to correct itself down versus up. Okay. Once again, depends on the fundamental catalyst. Do your own research and find out what that is. If you have comments, of course, or you know what that is, comment below to let us all learn. But generally speaking, we're extremely overextended on pretty much every time frame. So that kind of goes without saying. That's kind of a redundancy here, but that's kind of built into this type of increase. So traditionally what I like to look for is, healthy continuation patterns, right? So this was nice and healthy, and this significant breakout that occurred sometime last night at about 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time took off from there. Okay, so it just keeps on going, won't stop. Now, how much further will it go? Well, in truth, again, it shouldn't go tremendously further, just based on the natural laws of trading, right? So if we take a look at TD sequential, we're at a 5 on the 4-hour. Hypothetically, we've got 4 more candlesticks before it reaches an over-exhaustive state. But I can tell you, in my experience, that there's such a thing as 3 white soldiers, where you have 3 large green candlesticks in a row, it's usually followed by a 4th. We didn't see a correction on the 4th candlestick here. It just keeps on going. So that tells me that this is, I wouldn't say necessarily a pump and dump, but there's a strong chance that there is a dump coming, just based on the simple fact that it's overextended. While it's not overextended on the 4-hour, I'm sure we look at the 1-hour, we got that as well. Actually, we came up to an 8 and got a reset, so it's not terrible. This is moderately healthy. And if we look, we can see here there is what? We're at an 8. We hit an 8 twice in a row, and now we're up to a 5. So I'd say hypothetically we got 3 or more hours before the price action turns itself around. But generally speaking, this amount of increase in this short amount of time typically is followed by a decrease. Okay, so I'm not saying you want to short your shorts off. That's hard to say. Or I'm not saying that you need to necessarily sell your position. If you were in the green and you are in the green now, maybe consider a 50% profit taking. That's what you should do anyways. Good traders take 50% on the first target, or 60, 70% in some cases too. I do that as well. And then leave that last smaller percentage, because if it's more than 50% in your first profit target, then if it comes back down to break even, you're still profitable, right? Again, you don't want that to happen, but if that were to happen and you let let the rest ride, so to speak, you could notice that you would actually take some profits before it comes down. So hypothetically, take a smaller position, profit size, if you will, and then let the rest ride. That's usually what I like to do in situations like these. Because obviously you don't just want to get everything out, but you do still want to get something out of it, right? Don't leave meat on the bone. That's essentially the concept. Try not to get super greedy. It happens all the time. Diamond hand holders, it's okay. It's all well and good if you want to do that. You're holding on for forever. This is a coin that you want to invest in. Don't even listen to me. But at this point, what we want to talk about next is potential retracement levels. So let's talk about that here for the moment. In fact, let's go ahead and zoom out a little bit so we can see the levels here. And I'll go ahead and tighten this up just a little bit so we can see what's going on. All right. So generally speaking, what I like to kind of communicate on situations like this to not only my community, but just in general, best practice for a parabolic type of increase. While this does have brief periods of consolidation, we can see about a 4-hour consolidation period here and a 4-hour consolidation period here. Those are both at key level Fibonacci retracement lines. So you see that right there at $6.48 at 0.382 on the Fibonacci, as well as 0.618. Those are normal stepping stones. And in fact, it just blasted right through 0.5. So keep this in mind. When you have an increase like this, if it were to come back down, the common place for it to consolidate is at the 0.5 marker. And if you lose that, you can expect 0.236 to come. In other words, if we lose 0.5 on this retracement, it comes back down, we could very well see somewhere in the range of $6 again. I think the likelihood of that's very, very low at this point, just based on the overall sense that the market is doing well, alts are surging, and it's all well and good, right? Because there's a lot of different things you can kind of think about, but if we take a look at Bitcoin dominance, it's still kind of averaging itself out. So even though this coin is taking off, it's not like significantly, it's kind of an outlier, you could say. Not every single coin is surging. So just bear in mind, we're having things like this happen, but with the market doing generally better, less fear, uncertainty, and doubt, we broke through a key level resistance for Bitcoin at 24,000. There's a lot of important things going on, and that's allowing stuff like this to occur. Okay, so again, likely a fundamental catalyst, check that out. But in a general sense, from a technical standpoint, 0.5 would be the expectation of a retracement if it were to come back down. The inverse as well, if just say hypothetically this continues to progress itself higher, the highest point which we should see in the next couple of days if it were to continue to progress this high would be right in the $12 range. I think that's less likely. And in fact, what we want to do is look at maybe some resistance levels. We can see the price action spent a lot of time right here at about the $16 mark. Because there's a pretty significant gap when you look at it. There's not a lot of volume in this range. So if we take a look at the volume profile, you'll see obviously the most accumulation at 5.5, but there's literally nothing above the current price action for volume. A lot of coins have this happen right now. So they're filling that gap, for lack of better terms. So it wouldn't surprise me if we see $12. I just think it would be kind of naive to just hold on and expect that. Right? It's more likely in general to come back down, but if it does continue to progress higher, keep in mind we do have some limitations right in the $12 range, and obviously if it continues to progress, 16.5 would be the next major key level resistance. Again, that's really all we have to go on here for the most part with the data that we have. And again, the best thing for you to kind of remember here is just to try to remember that when situations like this occur, it's somewhat of an anomaly. You see an extreme amount of volume in one trading day. If this volume can continue to maintain itself, then the price will continue higher, right? If you start to see a diminished amount of volume over the next few trading days, which is very likely, the likelihood of the price action coming back down to consolidate to a next key level is pretty high. And keep in mind too, it could very well average itself out close to where it's at, because you can see that there is a decent amount of volume here at this range just before it came all the way to the bottom. But let's take a look though. Even though there is some volume just below, it's not a tremendous amount. Okay, so again, there is a potential that the price action will come back down just to say at about $8, $7.95 and bounce. But if we do lose that initial 0.786 Fibonacci retracement, I think 0.5 would be an inevitability. Again, those are just normal things that I experience by reviewing stuff like this consistently, and I can tell you there's trends that do occur, and the trend in most cases is for the price to pull back first before it legs up again. Again, fundamental catalysts are more likely pumps and dumps, and if that's what this is, pay attention to the volume. If the volume starts to decrease, then the price will do so as well, and you should experience a situation where the price will come back down. So you could add to your position at that point. You could take some profits now. There's a lot of different scenarios, but to me, why leave why leave profit on the table? It doesn't make a lot of sense to just hold on for dear life right now. It makes more sense to take some profits and to let the rest ride. That's just my recommendation in general for situations like these. This is what I do. Okay, so again, do what you want, perfectly fine. I hope that it works well for you. Just know that there are some resistance levels coming up, but we are getting pretty close to this nice little volume profile here. So we could very well see a bounce off of 795. All right, so again, kind of a flip of a coin. That's where these things are always very unique and different. So again, when you see something like this occur, try not just to FOMO in. Try to use logic and to kind of think about it abstractly. Remove the emotion. What's going to happen next? What's the likelihood of it continuing higher when it's already extremely overextended on every single time frame? Again, a lot of limitations here in my personal opinion. I don't think we're going to see a tremendously higher price point, but if it does, great. We'll continue to cover this. Make sure that you understand best practice for that next situation. All right. So again, thank you so much for joining me here. Hope this made sense and it was clear and concise. If you want to become a better trader, again, CryptoCache.tech is a site, link in the description below. I look forward to work with you. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your day and weekend. We'll see you next one.